So, today I'll be talking about whistleblowing. First of all, let's have a look at what the term whistleblowing means. As stated earlier, whistleblowing is shedding light on the truth. In other words, whistleblowing is when someone exposes or sheds light on illegal activities done by an organization or government. This is typically done by someone within the organization or government. Now that we know what whistleblowing is, then why is it so important? Well, let me give you 3 reasons why whistleblowing is so important. Number 1. Ensure accountability. What does accountability mean? Well, let me give you an example. Say you steal something, you're taken to court where you're either fined or put in prison. In other words, the bad people get to face the consequences of hiding the truth from the public. They're held accountable. Number 2. Protect public interest. Public interest means the welfare or well-being of the general public. So how do you protect the public interest? Let me give you an example. Say a bridge has to be built. 2 firms put forth proposals to build the bridge. Quality-wise, there's no difference between the 2 companies. One offers to build the bridge for £10 million, the other for £100 million. Say the Prime Minister chooses the expensive option. Now, this would not be in the public's interest, as the 90 million extra could have been used for schools, roads, old age homes, etc. So in other words, the welfare or well-being of the general public means promoting a fair, just and responsible society. Number 3. Promote transparency and integrity. Transparency refers to being open and willing to share information. Let me give you an example of what I mean by transparency. We often hear of products being recalled due to defects, like for example IKEA's furniture and Toyota's cars. So, by recalling the defect products, these firms are being open and willing to share information. They're telling the consumers that we care about you. This in return makes firms like IKEA and Toyota ever more credible in the consumer's eyes. We've seen firms who have done the opposite. Firms such as car manufacturer Volkswagen. They lied about levels of exhaust fumes from their cars and had to pay major fines. Integrity means valuing honesty and openness. Let me give you an example here too. We all remember the wannabe Winston Churchill, UK's former Prime Minister Tony Blair. He was George Bush's lapdog and was at the forefront in helping the Americans attack Iraq and kill hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. Later, this criminal wanted to become General Secretary of the United Nations. Fortunately, the world would have none of it, and today the rat is living a life in oblivion. In other words, integrity means taking responsibility and accountability for one's actions, good or bad. Something war criminal Tony Blair didn't. We now know why whistleblowing is so important. Let's have a look at one such whistleblower, Julian Assange. So, who is Julian Assange and what did he do? Assange was born Julian Paul Hawkins in 1971. The 53-year-old Australian national is an editor, publisher, and activist who created WikiLeaks in 2006. WikiLeaks is a place where you can publish top-secret documents anonymously, but he is mostly known for being involved in releasing war crime documents and government misconduct. Well, what are those leaks? Let's dive into it. He leaked many things from a group called the Afghan War Diary, where he released thousands of top-secret documents. These documents exposed civilian casualties and military operations done by the Western powers in the area. He also leaked many things from the Iraq War. For example, he published footage of a US helicopter attack that killed 2 journalists and 12 innocent civilians in 2007 in Baghdad. Courtesy of WikiLeaks and Al Jazeera, here is a clip of exactly how brutal the Americans were.
For more than 2.5 years, the wire service Reuters has been trying to find out what happened to their 2 staff members on this street in the suburb of New Baghdad. WikiLeaks says this is what happened.
Yep, he's got a weapon too. Hotel 26, Crazy Horse 18, have 5 to 6 individuals with AK-47s. We got an RPG. All right, we got a guy with
The voice on the tape, presumably a member of the military, says there has been shooting in the area and receives permission to open fire.
When people are labelled as insurgents, are they really insurgents? It seems to be the case that from the scenes in this video, that any person that is not a man and sometimes not a woman is by default labelled as an insurgent.
Light them all up.
202 traffic, 260s.
Come on, fire! Hey, Roger. Keep shooting. God damn it, Kyle. All right. I hit him by head. Oh yeah, look at those dead bastards. Nice. 2-6, crazy.
From a distance, you hear the voices on the tape watch as the wounded try to crawl to help. But when help arrives...
Come on, let us shoot.
You're engaged.
1-8, engage. Clear. Come on. Clear. Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
In this video, I think you see the corruption of pilots and the military by war itself, in particular by the modern nature of aerial warfare. So you see these young pilots acting like they're playing video games, only the high scores they are getting are with real human lives.
Wiggle frequency. I just drove over a body. Yeah.
Even from high above, the harsh reality becomes evident as the troops that arrive find 2 children wounded. You see them carry their small bodies and call for help.
Hey, I need to get the brass to drop ramps. I got a wounded girl. We didn't take the rough to mile.
The response on the tape...
Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
They say a picture says more than 1,000 words. If that's so, then what does a video like the one that you've just seen tell you? Assange's leaked documents went against the official narrative. The video tells you that the Allied forces, led by the Americans, were a bunch of liars. The leaked documents revealed the number of civilian casualties were much greater than what the Americans would have the public believe. Now that the cat was out of the bag, what did this mean to the Allied forces? Well, Assange's leaks had destroyed the public's trust in the Allied. The documents had raised questions about the legitimacy over the military operations. Finally, the public demanded more scrutiny of their government's actions. Now, the Americans and the Allied wanted to get revenge for the leaks. How do they do it? Well, the Swedish government accused him of rape in 2010. That was a clear white lie, and an excuse to have him extradited to the US, not to Sweden. He was also charged with espionage and conspiracy-related stuff due to his actions. Assange risks 175 years imprisonment if extradited to the USA. Before concluding, let me just give you a quick run-through of some important events surrounding Julian Assange. I won't comment on all of them. Already in 1995, at an age of 24, Assange was a well-known computer programmer. He was fined for hacking, but fortunately avoided prison. He founded WikiLeaks in 2006 and released the US helicopter video that we just saw earlier in 2010. Thousands of more documents were leaked in 2010. In 2012, he sought political asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. After 7 long years, the Ecuadorians revoked his asylum in 2019 and kicked him out. Later the same year, the US formally asked Britain to extradite Assange to the US. In 2021, a UK judge said it would be wrong to extradite Assange to the US, as his mental health was weak and there was a risk he could commit suicide. In April 2024, US President Joe Biden said he was considering a request from Australia to drop Assange's prosecution and return him to his native country. That won't be happening, as 2024 is an election year in the USA, and the old man needs to look tough. As of May 20th, 2024, 2 senior judges of the UK High Court have granted Assange permission to appeal against an earlier order, ruling that he needs to be given a full appeal in the UK. Right, what can we conclude? Well, we've seen examples of the importance of whistleblowing against rogue states such as the United States. We've seen examples of why it is important to hold such states accountable. We've also seen how whistleblowers such as Julian Assange have to go into hiding the remainder of their lives in order to avoid extradition or unjust imprisonment. Now, had Assange leaked documents related to, for example, North Korea, everyone would have nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. But because it's the USA, Assange is all of a sudden a dangerous criminal.
Thank you for your time and attention.